It's pretty interesting to think how far we've come, not only in terms of Nintendo and their games, but uh, also uh, Nintendo's relationship with third parties, and not only their relationship with third parties, but also the third party games themselves uh, change a lot. Um, this particular game, I never thought I was gonna buy this. Like, not only was it the type of thing that I wasn't generally interested in, but also, like, you know, when this game launched, it was super buggy and broken on even the high end PCs and consoles. And when it came out on the PS4 and Xbox One, people were very not happy. And those versions didn't even receive the DLC that this version did, you know. But, you know, all these years later, right alongside my new Nintendo system, I picked up a big open world game that you could spend hundreds of hours in, both at home or on the go. Like Breath of the Wild. Uh, I did not play this game as much as Breath of the Wild. I really need to get back to this one. I only played about 2 hours, which is not even scratching the surface when it comes to this fucking thing. But, I generally, not only at launch, but throughout the course of the Nintendo Switch 2's first year, I felt pretty happy as a Nintendo fan, which is weird to say because I feel like nobody else really agrees. Like, I have the announcements from the June 9th Direct pulled up on a computer to the side right here. And looking at the list, I'm not going to pretend I care about all of this stuff. But, we have Rhythm Heaven Groove, just a Switch 1 game, but still really excited for that. Aminusha, seems like a cool looking Capcom game. Orbitals looks incredible. It's nice to get a release date for The Big Walk. The Pokemon Pokopia DLC looked delightful. What else do we got here? A port of Lies of P. I haven't played that game yet. That was really cool. There was a port of Metaphor ReFantazio, a game that I did play, but I would like to play again, since I just like the game that much. I thought the new Nintendo Switch Sports Resort game looked great. People were memeing about the thumb wrestling, but I thought it looked really interesting. What else? Pikuniku 2. I remember playing the original way back in the day, and I thought that game was super charming. The Splatoon Raiders trailer looked really, really good. What else do I care about in here? Yeah. And then you have the two big closers of a Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, which was amazing. I couldn't believe that was in the presentation. And wrapping things up with Ocarina: A Time Remake, which it is a little weird that they didn't really show any footage of this game since it's supposed to come out this year, but, it's something that I'm still looking forward to. But even beyond the stuff that I am either mixed or just straight up didn't care about, you have the new Xenoblade game coming out. You have Switch 2 versions for the trilogy, which is amazing. Devil May Cry 5, a great game. Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC is a little weird, especially since it's DLC for the DLC, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I can tell you right now, I played this game a lot more than Cyberpunk, and I don't regret a second of it. And even more than that, I played this game even more than either of them. And honestly, I'm not sure which of these two games is better. So getting DLC for both of these amazing titles feels really, really good. on top of all the other stuff I have to look forward to as a fan. I do think that the new Fire Emblem being $80 is stupid, but I could always not buy that. What else is there? Stellar Blade. Oh, that's interesting. I might check that out. Rayman Legends. I'm leaning more positive than negative towards that remake, but I'm still a little cautious. Again, there was Xenoblade. You know, those games are cool. I might check them out one day. You have the Star Fox demo, which I played, which honestly made me feel a lot better about that game. Deltarune Chapter 5. I didn't even mention that in the shit I cared about. Like, that's coming out real soon, too. And that's, in fact, both Splatoon Raiders and Deltarune Chapter 5 are back to back. So, you know, not only do I have stuff to look forward to in the immediate future, but I also have stuff on the horizon, right? And this is not even counting the stuff that Nintendo's working on that they just haven't announced yet, right? And, you know, not only do I think the system in general is really good, right? You know, even after a year, I'm still obsessed with taking off and putting back on my Joy-Con 2. Even though, and like, yeah, I have a few criticisms. I do think that the magnets have gotten a little weaker over time since I could just kind of, you know, pull it out without too much trouble, as opposed to the pre-release material, which either game journalists are way weaker or I got way stronger. One of those two things. But yeah. But I have Mario Kart World digitally since it came in the bundle, but that was another game I played a good amount of too. And in terms of third-party support, I mean, you know, I'm playing Mina the Hollower right now. Pretty cool. And when you look at the profile right here, I just started playing Mina, so not that much. Star Fox demo I just played. Mario Kart World is 50 hours. Yoshi was 20. Pokemon Champions was 100. I don't recommend doing that. Mario Wonder for 25. Pokopia for 45 hours. That was really big. You can replay Lee, Donkey Kong Bonanza for 70 hours. Both Forgotten Land Switch 2 Edition and Air Riders for 20 hours a pop. Legends EA for 85 hours. I recommend the base game. I do not recommend the DLC. Metroid Dread, it was a game I replayed when they announced the new Boost Mode feature for Switch 1 games. That was exciting. And yeah, this is only scratching the surface, right? You know, I already talked about all the cool games, that I already talked about Cyberpunk, which is a big game I still need to get to, right? You have these two games, which not only do I love, but I'll continue to play in the future. And then from there, you have a bunch of other really great titles. Or at the very least, strong support, right? And I'm not going to pretend like my physical game library is amazing right now. Like, Pac-Man World 2, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I played it a little bit. It's okay. Metroid Prime 4 is weird, but it's not the worst game in the world. Pokemon Legends ZA, recommend the base game. Do not recommend the DLC. Mario Tennis Fever, I need to play this game a little bit more, but I liked what I played. And then Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 Edition. You know, not only did I like the base game, but you know, I thought the DLC levels were really good. And then you have some titles that I feel like were underappreciated, like Kirby Air Riders and Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. And then beyond that, there's also either new Switch games I could be playing or old Switch games. Either Switch games that recently came out, Switch games I still need to play, games that got specific Switch 2 updates, and games that I already liked that I could take advantage via Boost Mode. You would think that after saying all of this, right, you would think that, you know, I would be pretty happy as a Nintendo fan, and, you know, you would be right. I am very happy with a lot of the games that have come out. And you might also think, oh, well, not only is there a lot of stuff right now, but there's also a lot of stuff on the horizon, and with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox and even the Steam Deck dramatically increasing the price, the Nintendo Switch 2 is probably the best option on the market right now. It's the cheapest console, it's portable, it has a ton of third-party support, and it has a lot of exclusive games. Like with PlayStation these days, you're lucky to get 2 big games a year. But, going through a lot of the Switch 2's first year, alongside, just enjoying all of these third-party games on top of new exclusives on the same system, feels great. You would think that any Nintendo fan would be more than delighted with the way how the company is doing and shaping up, but they're just not. And a lot of this can be linked back to this bugger right here. And admittedly, both when it came out and right now, I don't only have positive fuzzy feelings for Mario Kart World. I do think that the open world, even though I loved it, was a bit of a misfire for a lot of people. And beyond that, I do feel like some of the core Mario Karting is a little worse in terms of the track design, but but not only are the regular tracks really, really good, but also the open world is fun to drive in, especially with all the new movement options you have when compared to Mario Kart 8. If you like Mario Kart 8 more than this game, that's fine. You're allowed to like whatever you want. And it's especially valid because of the amount of tracks that Mario Kart 8 has, but there's something about the game feel and ideas in this one in particular that really resonated with me over time. But none of that matters. At least not to the general Nintendo fan, because, when talking about this game, it is impossible to escape the discussion when it comes to the price. And I'll fully admit, when Doug Bowser went up there on the interview, right, and talked something about variable pricing, right, that was just a meme, right? I knew that was a bunch of phony baloney, and he didn't actually mean any of that, and he just wanted to make games more expensive. Whatever. But, later on, I do feel like Nintendo, really took that feedback seriously. And even though they're still charging $80 for Switch 2 editions, and again, charging $80 for Fire Emblem, I think that's stupid. They've also been more reasonable with modern releases. Again, Yoshi. 60 digital, 70 physical. Not great, but, not terrible either. And I think this game's really good. There's a lot of other great games that you could buy, probably for much cheaper than $70, but I didn't regret spending I did not regret spending $70 on this. I loved this game. And I could say that about a good number of the games here. Even the $80 ones. Like, I spent $80 on Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I'm not going to lie about that one, but honestly, reflecting on it, obviously it was way too much, but I didn't really regret it. Like, that game and its DLC levels were good enough to where, as a fan, I felt pretty satisfied. Not to say I didn't have any problems with Nintendo, but overall, I kind of feel like complaining about a lot of these things is small potatoes. And you might be watching or listening to this video thinking to yourself, okay, well, if you're enjoying playing the games and you're enjoying the announcements, what is the point of this video? And the point I want to make is that it feels like nobody's really happy with anything anymore. Um, Before the June 9th Nintendo Direct, I was going through a couple things. But because of that, for the first time, I didn't think about like what games were or weren't going to show up. For the first time, I was trying to figure out, what the fuck am I gonna do with my life? I don't want to be like in a boo hoo sort of way. I mean it in like a oh man, I really gotta figure this out now, type of way. And I still make time for Nintendo. Of course, I always do. And but that was the first Nintendo Direct I came in with no expectations, either positive or negative. And I remember watching this with my brother, and my immediate reaction was to give it an 8 out of 10. Because for me, even though I'm pretty happy with a lot of the stuff that Nintendo's putting out right now, I did want at least one other big thing, whether it be a game, a sequel in a franchise that is very well beloved, or a big new IP in general, right? And we didn't get either of those, but we got pretty much everything else you could possibly want out of this most recent Nintendo Direct, but it doesn't feel like enough. And like there is just so much negativity around Nintendo right now that I genuinely don't understand, even from other Nintendo fans who are positive about the Switch 2 and its games. Like, recently you had Scott the Woz making a whole retrospective on the Wii U, talking about how awful it was, no third-party support, and not a lot of first-party games coming out, But ultimately, that was a system he still loved, despite all of the problems. So it's really weird seeing that same guy on Twitter going, yeah, man, I did not like this Nintendo Direct. It sucked. Like, why? Not only did you have a good amount of games, but I feel like there were a good amount of games that interested you in a particular. Like, of course, not everybody's going to be into everything. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend, I really care about Dragon's Dogma 2, right? But, like, that's a big Capcom game. They showed a lot of footage of it, and that's a sequel, so, somebody had to care enough about it to make a sequel, And that's really what I wanted to touch upon with this video. People feel, at least the general sentiment online, is that Nintendo is kind of floundering, right? Like, they need their next big game this year. How are they going to convince the people that the Switch 2 is worth it? And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, what is this? Like, genuinely, like, this is a big game that you could play either by yourself or with others for genuinely hundreds of hours, right? Again, by yourself or with others. The game takes advantage of the hardware it's on. Again, it's from a beloved IP. And the game itself is fantastic. I would, like, genuinely, after playing this, they sort of presented this as a cozy game, but I think it's a lot more than that. And honestly, after playing this, I kind of feel like Nintendo themselves have a lot to prove when it comes to the next Animal Crossing. But, that is for the future, right? I'm thinking about not only about the past, but the present. And right now, this and this, for the first year, I mean, do you really need anything else? Like, And of course, Nintendo can't just rely on their exclusives, but again, Cyberpunk, it's right there. Indie games, I mean, I know these are Switch 1 games, but these are still new, and Nintendo made sure that you could play them on the Switch too, so, still supporting the Nintendo ecosystem in general. And even for the smaller games that didn't receive as much time and attention, I loved Kirby Air Riders and Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. And while I do have some mixed feelings towards Mario Kart World, there's a reason why they're still pushing that game in particular with the new Switch bundle. And what I really want to address here is the sentiment that, Nintendo doesn't have enough games to where somebody would reasonably want to buy the Switch 2. I really want to dig into this because, in order for their new bundle to work, right? Not only do each of these 3 games have to be worth getting on their own, for the console, but each of them has to be different enough to where you would want to buy them after you've already enjoyed one game, right? And I think, if you're looking for one of these 3 particular games when you pick up your system, you probably know which game you want to get, right? And beyond that, all 3 of these games play so differently from each other that, not only do you have these 3 amazing games on the first year, right? But you also have games that I really enjoyed that are still exclusive, like Yoshi and Kirby. And beyond that, excellent third-party support, like Cyberpunk. Like I said, I barely played this game. There's so many things to play that I'm genuinely left confused. As a Nintendo fan, what more could you possibly want? And, this would probably, if this were an earlier version of me, I would probably say that, Nintendo fans are a bunch of little babies who don't know what they want, but, I know that's not true. There was a time when Nintendo fans were really happy to be getting these directs and these game reveals, all these ports and new games, and it feels like not much has changed when moving into the Switch 2, but the only thing that's changed is the general attitude. So if you're watching this video and have a Switch 2 and are disappointed with the new Nintendo Direct, I want to ask, why? What are you looking for specifically? And I know I mentioned that I would have liked to have seen a new big game alongside the Ocarina of Time remake from Nintendo, but I don't need it. You know what I mean? I'm happy with all these other games I have to play. So I guess my question to you, the viewer watching this, is what are you looking for in a Nintendo Direct? I'm not trying to be mean here. I just want to know.